Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, and since 2016, Monica Shimonik has been coaching moms and dads as they navigate through the treacherous waters of the family law racket. Aside from her workshops, which helps with specific problems, her 12-week signature course, The Best Interest of the Parent, uses a four-quadrant model to create a robust healing and empowerment system so that you control the narrative in your life, not the state. Use coupon code SLAMTHEGAVEL to get 10% off her course, and that will be included in the podcast notes. And with me today, I have Katrina Milburn. She's a mental health advocate and peer certified specialist. She got into mental health around 2012 after experiencing some tough times and felt completely alone. She started a 24/7 crisis and resource hotline so people always had someone to call, to listen, offer resources, and know they are not alone. She was still living in Virginia, which is where she met her ex, the father of her daughter, who is originally from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. She thought he was the love of her life, and she even thought he was the one. Within 6 months, they were engaged, and 2 months later, she called to let him know that she was expecting a baby. They were so happy. He has another daughter. However, they decided to move to North Carolina. He found a job and moved there, and before their place was ready, she stayed in Virginia. Then they finally moved to North Carolina in November 2016. And she's been a stay-at-home mom since her daughter's birth. Becoming a mom has changed her, and she never knew that she could love anything so much in her life, as we all parents know. And she's also a tough mom. She's also running for city council. She's going to tell us all about that as well. So I totally welcome you, Katrina. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you on. You have a lot to tell us. So, you also have a medical condition as well. And it's lupus. How are you doing with that?
Well, I haven't, the lupus has, since at least 2015, no, 2016, I'm sorry. When I was 5 months pregnant with my daughter, my RNA test came back negative. All my tests came back negative. And the doctor found that really odd. And he couldn't figure out why. And my ex was with me at the time. And so the doctor said that sometimes when you're pregnant, I guess for people to understand it, the baby eats up the lupus, and it's rare, but it does happen. I had it for over 10 years prior to that, so I'm very thankful. And since then, I haven't had any flare-ups or anything.
Well, so that's good.
That's been great.
Definitely, because you've had a lot on your plate lately.
Yeah, and stress tends to induce flare-ups with immune disorders and stuff like that. So I'm very fortunate for that, at least.
Oh, yeah, it can exacerbate all sorts of symptoms. And it's when you have all this stress that you're going to tell us about, it just is not good for anybody. So, yeah.
So, I decided to, I live in Thomasville, North Carolina, which is, it's a city that is compacted, and it's in Davidson County, North Carolina, which is outside of, if anyone's familiar with North Carolina, it would be considered, the triad: Greensboro, Winston-Salem, which is Forsyth County, and High Point. So, an hour north of Charlotte also. So that's where I live. And we moved here because my ex got a job at a window place in Davidson County, and he did not like that job. So right before we bought a house, and before we moved here, while I was in Virginia, he called me and said he had a back injury. And turned out he faked his entire back injury for an entire year, and he was collecting workers' comp. So I was taking care of at the time when we moved, 11-month-old daughter, about 10 months when he faked the back injury. But because he actually got that back injury in Virginia when he hit a telephone pole and early morning. But anyways, for 1 year, and we had a private investigators watching him. So, but he was looking for jobs. He just sat on the ground for a year, and I did everything. And I actually have a traumatic brain injury, but I hit my head in 2 spots. So a dog fell on top of me. 100-pound dog fell on top of me with me, and my neck and my head, back of my head, hit a 2x4, and it knocked me completely out. So I had bone spurs in my neck. So because of that entire year of taking care of him, sometime in the middle or near the end, I can't remember exactly the date, but I could not get out of bed. My neck felt broken, completely broken. I could not move. And so I had to have him help me, and I couldn't hold my head up. It was miserable. I had neuropathy from it. It was hitting my nerves. I was having all sorts of things. I was having migraines really bad, or really bad headaches, where they would give me 48 Botox injections around my head. It made my bone spurs flare up to where it was causing so many problems. And I had to deal with that because I was a stay-at-home mom, and we had to have income come from somewhere. So that was a tough year. And then right when he found out he was getting a settlement, he already had a job, a really good paying job, right under $100,000 paying job. So we decided, since he had a 6-week time period, to go ahead and get married. We've been engaged this entire time. And so we got married when the hurricane, picked the best time. The hurricane hit North Carolina, September 15, 2018. And so actually no one from my family, his family wasn't going to come, but no one from my family could make it except for my oldest brother. He drove down there with his girlfriend and his nephew in Panama City. That's where we got married, which was affected by the hurricane as well. He's the one that married us. He got ordained right before I found out I got pregnant, because we were going to get married before that. So long story short, my mom stayed with my daughter, and we got married. And I mean, even right before the day of our wedding, he was gone the entire day. I had to cancel the rehearsal, which was only 6 people, but he wouldn't call, answer phone calls, nothing. I've had the same phone number since 2001. So that's when things really started getting bad. And I realized later on, looking back, he once told me regarding his other daughter that if he would have married his daughter's mom, then he would have had more rights to his daughter. He actually said that to me. So I do feel that he only married me for one reason only. But the odd thing is, he did several things right after we got married. He was taking, so I actually got on disability. I had back pay disability. We had his workers' comp. So we had a decent amount of money. He took $10,000 within 12 hours of getting married, and then put it into a private account. And he slowly did that. He did that, I guess, weekly. Now I look back on my bank statements. I did not know this at the time. But he took out a lot of money. Then when he started working, he had every paycheck deposited into that private checking account. I happened to see some sort of statement, and I asked him about it. So then I also found out he was cheating on me. He started cheating on me within the first month of marriage. And then he started going to strip clubs, which were on the bank statements. And he was withdrawing from ATMs the maximum amount of money possible that you could before he would go to the strip club. It was on the same street. And I was completely shocked. I had at least 6 that I caught him doing before he hid them from me. And that was in 3.5 months of getting married. So when I approached him with all this stuff, I thought it would you get married for life. And you work through tough stuff, and so I said, we have to communicate, talk about this, work through this, and you show me your private account, because obviously you're hiding something, or you need to leave. And he just I woke up the next morning and I was shocked. He had packed up just materialistic stuff and he was gone. He left both our 2-year-old daughter and myself. He was gone.
Hmm.
The one person that he knew was his half brother, who he had just reconciled with, and so he moved into his brother's basement.
Hmm.
Yeah. So between staying in hotels, nice hotels, and his brother's basement, that's where he was living from January 2019 on. And I begged him to come see our daughter. She was, it affected her deeply.
Mhm.
A 2-year-old doesn't understand. And again, I guess her birthday's late December, so she just turned 2. She first would say, "Daddy coming home?"
Mhm.
And what do you say to that when
Mhm.
you don't really even know? So she went through phases, asking questions, then confusion, sadness, abandonment phase was the hardest one. We are members of the YMCA, and I dropped her off one time. She usually just runs off and has a good time.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh, it was horrifying. I dropped her off and she started crying. I've never in my life seen her cry so hard. Her face was red, tears
Mhm.
just rolling down her face, screaming, "Mommy, don't leave me," hugging my leg. It was
Mhm.
heartbreaking. And so I don't know anyone around here. Uh everything was always about him and taking care of him and my daughter. And looking back now, being in an abusive relationship, I see now the isolation that I was in.
Mhm.
All sorts of any type of abuse you can think of,
Mhm.
it happened. And not in front of my daughter, but the one time it did happen in front of my daughter, I called the police. And in North Carolina, their laws are completely different. So the police told me that it was a misdemeanor or something. They gave me a report, said go to the magistrate's office. It was a Sunday. Well, I couldn't find the magistrate's office. So I stopped at this church and asked the man if he knew where it was. He said he was the post office, I guess, or mailman or something like that. I don't know. And he said they were closed on Sundays. So I didn't go.
Mhm.
And my ex took off with my daughter and he blocked me. And I was worried sick. I mean, he's never in my daughter's life just ever had my daughter alone. She's always been with me. And if
Mhm.
he was with her, I was there too. He's never just been with her. And so blocking me, not knowing where they were, was scary. So I had to call the police. They finally got in touch with him. He said he was going to bring her back. So I waited for 4 hours on the front porch until like 9:30 at night, and he never brought her back. He ended up bringing her to Virginia to my parents. I found out because my mom called me, well, texted me saying I was a witch, saying all sorts of stuff. So I don't know what he told her. But he started getting to my parents by my mom, especially. I found
Mhm.
messages that he was sending my mom on his phone that were complete lies. He was living an hour and a half away, and I could prove it. But he was telling my
Mhm.
mom that he was here at the house living here on
Hmm.
the days that I actually have like proof where he's going to bars and he's in Hickory, North Carolina,
Mhm.
which is an hour and a half away. So it was a rough time. You just get married and then he leaves both your daughter and yourself. And so I had to hire a babysitter, which costs money,
Mhm.
and to help out. I had to be able to take care of myself in order to take care of my daughter and take care of, work out, grocery shop, just do some things independently. And she was going through the abandonment phase, and then she went through the anger phase.
Mhm.
Um, at one point, I tried to talk her dad into her, and he agreed that he would come by twice a week and see her at certain days and certain times, but he never even called to say he wasn't showing up.
Hmm.
So I remember one time, I have a picture of her. She's looking at the window waiting for him to come. And
Hmm.
it's absolutely heartbreaking. Uh, so anyways, I, he actually ended up moving back in with us, I guess you should say. I could say into the house that I live in now still. In May 2019, after he agreed to show me his bank statements, which is really, I mean, his bank account,
Right.
that he bank account, he agreed. So, and a counseling, he agreed to that. So he moved back in. I actually went with him to get his stuff. He he stole a check out of my checkbook to write his brother the $250 rent payment. I found out later. I did report it, but anyways, and we came back here for 2 days only. And then I woke up again on May 30th, 2019. I'll never forget this day. He knew both my daughter was sick and myself, I was sick as well. But my daughter was not sleeping well. She was sick. And that had gone on for a couple of days. And that I had planned on taking her to get checked out that on May 30th. But I woke up that morning and I was sleeping in the spare bedroom at that time. I walked into the master bedroom, all his stuff was gone. I looked on the security camera footage and I watched everything he did at 4 a.m., packing his bags and going out the back door so I wouldn't hear him. And just 2 days. And on May 30th, since my daughter was sick, she came first. I had to take her to an urgent care because she could not be fit in with a pediatrician. So I didn't really know where to take her. I did call my ex and ask him to help, and he did not care to help at all. He was just getting off of work. It was 20 minutes away, but no, he didn't. So I took her to an urgent care by myself, and right when I pulled into the parking lot, she fell deep asleep, but she had not slept for several nights. And she was deep asleep, and I knew she needed that sleep. So I have a 2017 Nissan Rogue, and it's very child proof, child safe. And I had the AC on I think it was like 68 or something like that. And I was on the phone with a divorce attorney. I locked my car, and I just had my phone on me, and I had my keyless entry key inside my sports bra, and I was wearing a summer dress. But my purse was inside my locked car with my daughter, and I was standing right beside the car and in front of the car where I could see my daughter the entire time. When I got off the phone with the divorce attorney, she was still dead asleep, and I knew she needed that sleep. So, I mean, it went probably a good hour and a half that she was sleeping, and all of a sudden I see police cars show up. They all show up, and I go up to every single one of them. There's 5 of them, 4 officers and 1 captain. And I said, please don't wake up my daughter. She's sick. And I remind everybody that my doors were locked because they tried to open up her side where my daughter was sleeping, and they couldn't. But the one officer that they happened to leave off this report, looked at my daughter and looked at the car, and he decided that everything was fine. He stated that. He started to walk away, and so did the other officers, except for, and I'm going to name this officer by name, Officer Crispino, approached me. And North Carolina is not an ID state. You don't have to give your driver's license or ID unless you committed a crime or are suspected of one. So anyways, he asked me for my name, and I'm confused to why he wants it, but I give it to him anyways. And then he gets closer, and he's pushing for me to give him my driver's license. And I told him it was inside my car, which was locked, in my purse. And then I felt forced. I wish I would have known my rights a little bit more. So I felt forced. I got my driver's license form. So I opened up, I just pushed the button, which unlocks the driver's side only. And he's right there, like beside my shoulder. And this, I remind you, I'm 5'3", and I weigh about 108 pounds. So he's right beside me, and I step into my SUV. He knows exactly where my driver's license is. I reach in to get my purse. Next thing I know, I have 4 hands on me, and I'm being pulled out of my SUV and slammed onto the pavement by 2 police officers, Officer Crispino and Officer Alcon. They work for the Thomasville Police Department. And I was wearing a summer dress, as I said. And I just said, please don't wake up my daughter. She's sick. I just remember it. I just kept staring at her because as soon as she woke up, she would cry for me. I knew
Mhm.
that. So next thing I knew, they are both staring at my private parts. My dress had lifted up. I'm on my butt, my bare butt's on the pavement. And I felt so violated. So I tried to cover myself, just the dress over. I tried to cover myself up with my dress, that
Mhm.
part. Next thing I know, both officers again lift me up in midair, pull me backwards, and slam me on the pavement. Both officers.
This is
And these guys
terrible.
weigh, they're well over 200 pounds each, very muscular.
Mhm.
And I just started crying. I said, and I did say again, please don't wake up my daughter. She's sick. And I remember them trying to question me. And I remind you, this is the morning I find out that my ex, or my husband at the time, walked out on us again. You
Mhm.
know, and I found it on the camera. So it was a really rough day. So this went on for 4 hours. They left my daughter in the car for about 3 hours. Total. She was in the car.
Mhm.
The time I watched her, I mean, I wasn't even 3 feet, no, 2 feet from the car. I was sitting right there on the curb where you park your car, whatever that slab, whatever you call it. I don't know what you call it. I was sitting
Mhm.
there watching my daughter. So my eyes never left my daughter. But anyways, but they still left my daughter in the same condition. Like, they didn't change anything. But they ended up, when my daughter woke up, they did handcuff me, never arrested me. My daughter woke up, and the captain took the handcuffs off me. And I don't know if they were the plastic ones or the real ones. I can't remember. But and I had a lunch for my daughter, and we sat underneath a tree, and I fed her, and she was
Mhm.
doing 100% better. That sleep that she got was what she needed. And
Mhm.
I actually never ended up having to take her back to the doctor. But so then about 45 minutes goes by, and they ask me, they tell me I have to call someone.
Hmm.
And so I don't know. I don't remember. I probably tried calling Ray. I can't. I'm sorry, my ex Ray. But then I called a babysitter, and she came, and CPS also came.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I had the entire 4 hours between dispatch and the police. I have a friend who was an officer for this department for 17 years, and he got that for me. And the amount of corruption and cover up and lies is beyond belief with me. I
Mhm.
mean, I've never seen anything like it. So CPS, the CPS caseworker, and the one officer they left off the report, they gave me a citation. In Virginia, a citation means a ticket.
Mhm.
So they gave me a citation. So then I started. Let me go back. The caseworker says that I guess the babysitter needs to be with me or something, but I can drive home. And then they said that, oh, well, my daughter can't, I can't drive my daughter, but I can drive myself home. So I'm getting the car seat out. And then they went back, and I can't remember, I think it was, I don't remember which one. They probably both said, I can't remember which one, the officer or the caseworker. And they were the only ones that were there at the time. Said that I was not able to drive myself. I had to leave my car there.
Hmm.
And so I ended up having to go back with the babysitter. She drove myself and my daughter to my house, and the caseworker followed us. When the caseworker followed us, she did call my husband and ask him some questions. She asked him 2 specific questions. She asked him about me as a mother, and he said I was a good mother. And she also asked him if he had any concerns, and he stated he had absolutely no concerns.
Hmm.
So, and this is May 30th, 2019. So we get back to the house, and I am upset with everything that happened, just in shock still. And my daughter we have a dog, and she's just playing with the dog. The caseworker leaves, then she comes back the next morning, and she ended up closing that case. I mean, she came and did random visits. Everything was always fine. There was never any issues. So she ended up closing the case. And I do want to say one more thing. My ex called CPS in 2019, I know that because I got the letter in May 2019 saying that they weren't going to do anything. They didn't, it was unfounded or whatever on his other daughter's mom. Yeah. And she told me about what her children had to go through. They had to strip down naked and all sorts of stuff. I mean, he has a pattern of doing these things. And, he's been engaged 11 times, married several times. So, I've also spoken to several of his exes. So he tends to target people that work in the social service industry or people who care. Those type of people, all single mothers or, everyone I know that he's been with, they're all single moms. So anyways, that case was dropped, but then I had to go before that case was actually dropped, I had to go to the hospital because I knew I had to get documentation from, I had bruises and all sorts of, my whole body felt broken from my shoulders all the way down to my arms, from my upper thighs all the way down to my toes. I had severe bruising. And I wanted to document that. So the babysitter ended up getting sick, so she couldn't come. So I had no one else to call but my ex, my daughter's father. And he actually came. That's the first time since January 2019 he actually came to I'm going to say babysit our daughter. And the whole time I'm at the hospital, so he comes after work, is after 6, her bedtime's 8. And I'm there for 4 or 5 hours, but I call and text 30 sometimes and he doesn't respond, and his phone's on constantly, and it's something just didn't feel right. So I already called this hospital. Long story short, I ended up leaving immediately after leaving the room in the emergency room, and I came straight home, and I was not happy that he ignored my phone calls, but he left and went home. So the next day I'm giving my daughter a bath. And I said, so what did you and Daddy do last night? And there's a rocker in her room. That's where I always would breastfeed her, read her books. And she said that they sat in that rocker. And I said, okay, did you read books? And she just said no. And so I kind of left it at that. I mean, she didn't say they did anything. I do have cameras surrounding my house. He's a smoker. He didn't go outside and smoke. I had absolutely no clue that this would even be a part of my life. But after my daughter's bath, she's wrapped up in a towel, and we have a bedtime routine. And I'm walking her to the couch, and right in front of the door when I'm walking her, she said, "Daddy slapped my vagina." I've always used the word vagina, the proper word, is what I was always told to say. And I just dead stopped right in front of the door. It just blew my mind. I didn't know. I was speechless. It was, I can't even tell you what was going through my mind. So then I put her on the couch, and I'm kind of still in shock. And she's very repetitive. So this time she's probably about 2.5 years old. And she said, "Daddy slapped my vagina." And then she would say, "Daddy hurt me." And then she looked at me and she said, "Mommy, he needs to stop it, right?" With like a kind of question mark. And it was heartbreaking. So I got my phone at that point. And I documented what she was saying. And I think she knows that because it hurt her, something wasn't right, but it was her father. So, I mean, I don't know. I just know that she just kept saying the same statements over and over and over. And she had not seen her father in a little over 6 months. So that was alarming. So the first person I reached out to was her father. And he would not answer the phone. So I texted him. He was very defensive, completely gaslighted me, blamed me. And remind you, when May 30th happened, the day before that and the day before that, I was calling around for counseling, marriage counseling. So there's absolutely no reason why. I don't know. This is a mother's worst nightmare. So either way, I didn't know what to do at the time. So then I did ask the babysitter, what should we do? And she said, we need to take her to the pediatrician, and which we did. And the pediatrician stated she believes the father is sexually abusing the daughter, and she did not call CPS. She referred my daughter to a place called Brenner's Children's Hospital, which is in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County. And she told me to just wait for their phone call. Well, he ended up retaliating against me, calling CPS, and he's not allowed on the property. I was told by a cop because he already changed his address and everything. But anyways, he did come back to my property, but he retaliated on with CPS, told them I was on drugs and mentally unstable. The go-to.
Yeah.
Right. And there's no investigation at all. And so I come in, I actually came home to them inside my house. I have everything on video. I'm glad I had the camera set up, but I didn't know the laws. I've never thought about this happening. So you would think they would like at least drug test me or do something, ask the neighbors or something before they would try to force me. And they actually did force me to sign a safety assessment. So it's on video. So I'm asking questions, and the caseworker gets in my face and says, if you don't sign this safety assessment, it's going to be a very long time before you ever see your daughter again. There's no judge's order. There's no order to take my daughter. So that forced me to think, I have no choice. So I had the choice. I had the option to have my parents take my daughter, which my parents just moved from Virginia to North Carolina, an hour and a half away from me. So my daughter, being the one consistent person in her life, just got taken away from her that morning. And that was hard. So then I took the drug test, passed it. They gave me 24 hours, which I went immediately, passed it. They told me to take a mental health evaluation within 7 days, and I took it within 3. And remind you, I went through that trauma, and I still passed the mental health evaluation. They did recommend counseling, which I would have recommended counseling for myself, or therapy, whichever, because, I think when you go through stuff like this, you need someone to talk to. But so that's what, I passed everything, and they still would not give me my daughter back. I then found out in August 2019 from the girl herself, she was a minor at the time, she's in her 20s now, that my ex sexually abused her, and there was a CPS case in Forsyth County, and he sexually abused her for many, many years. It's his ex-fiance's daughter. And I also talked to her mother as well, and she told me to get as far away as possible from him. But the details were a lot like the things that he did to my daughter. He also did stuff to me. I guess I left that part out. After we got married, he drugged me and he would rape me. I woke up after he finished one time. And he was wiping off my back. And he gently moved me back on my side of the bed, and I could clearly see, but I couldn't talk or move at all.
I'm so sorry.
And he would always mention stuff like, I take Finagrin for stress or something like that, or something for sleep. Take more. And then the girl that he sexually abused also said he does it while you're sleeping. Same thing when my daughter was supposed to go to sleep, and she told me what her dad did to her. It clicked in my head. It was just like, I have no doubt that I wonder how many more victims. I also found his little trophy box. Actually, it's a plastic container with the victim. I don't want to say her name out of respect for her. From his ex-fiance's daughter, she wrote with her handwriting and permanent marker on this plastic container, the lid, like, It was her name and clothing and all sorts of stuff. He has been carrying that around since 2005
Oh.
with different random things. And they were like, they weren't adult things. It's disgusting.
Hmm.
And I never knew, when I saw that person's name, I never knew who she was until, after everything happened. And I lost 45 pounds in a month and a half.
Oh, I'm
I,
so sorry.
I was disgusted. And the CPS investigator, the one that yelled in my face, there's two of them there. They both actually one got fired and one retired.
Mm-hmm.
So I shared that video on the Davidson County Foster Care website, and they were fired that same week, or they were gone. One was fired, they were both gone. So
That's great.
Yeah. And I recommend anyone doing that if they have videos like that with evidence, because that's where they get foster parents. On that website is how they get foster parents. And when people see that, that's not really good. What do you call it?
Business.
Yeah, you don't get good business that way. So, which we don't want. We don't want foster, Anyway, so therefore, so then the caseworker she kept denying that there was ever a CPS case. But I knew for a fact there was. She was trying to cover up for him. Her and her supervisor both did. So I went to the head of CPS, and she got a brand new investigation team. I brought a witness with me, and they looked into it, and they found out he was actually substantiated sexually abusing. This is a non-relative minor child. And the police tried to locate him, but they were unable to locate him to charge him.
Mm-hmm.
So he got away with that too. He's got away with a lot. A whole lot.
Well, not in God's eyes. If he doesn't get justice down here, he'll get it on the other side down there.
Yeah, I know. I keep thinking that. He's 51 actually. I'm 38. He's mixed. He's half Korean, so he looks young. So I think at his age, he's really learned how to. He always bragged about being able to make anybody like him, or he could be whoever he needs to be for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
He always bragged about that. It's pretty sickening. It's very narcissistic. He's very narcissistic. He even got me, and I thought I knew all about mental health, and he got me. And anyways, so there's a lot of stuff that happened. It was hard because you marry someone and they immediately flip the switch dramatically, and you have a child together. You think, are they going through a phase? And then you find out all this other horrible stuff, and you don't know what to do with it. And all you want to do is just protect your own child and protect yourself. Anytime I did anything, he retaliates. I have absolutely zero privacy. There's a neighbor across the street that spies on me 24, unless he's not here, he's watching me for my ex. He reports back to him, and I have proof of that. So it took 11 months for me to get an adjudication, which usually happens between 30 and 90 days. But they retaliated against me. So I did file complaints with OCR, Office of Civil Rights and Health and Human Services, HHS, and they accepted my complaint, and they came in to investigate. So on the day that my attorney went in to sign the paperwork for them to investigate, the DSS attorney or someone, they filed for an incompetency hearing. So to say I'm incompetent. I can never say that whole thing. So anyways, on the same day, I was supposed to have my adjudication, which they gave us like 4 days notice. That was retaliation because I sent too many emails, they said. So anyways, that was held. And so it took 11 months. And my ex was against having my daughter released from DSS care. He did not want to dismiss. No one did, except for myself and my attorney. We didn't have to put on a single bit of evidence. Not a single bit of it. Not a witness, not a document, nothing. My attorney stood up and just said, Your Honor, I could cite some case law, but whatever, and it was dismissed. 11 months.
Wow.
I mean, all that.
Oh, all what you've been through. I am so sorry.
Yeah, and then it didn't. And I thought that was the happiest moment in my life. My attorney and I both cried. I mean, I know he was crying, I was crying. We hugged, and we were so happy. Because when your child is taken from you, every day is traumatizing, to say
Mm-hmm.
the least. And you have
Mm-hmm.
those vivid nightmares, and you worry that you're never going to get your child back. And
Mm-hmm.
when you know that she's best with you, I mean, they are taking innocent children from
Mm-hmm.
loving, safe parents. And I believe it's because they're more adoptable.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. And because I've seen, I went to 2 different parenting classes, and I've seen people who have a CPS case that are selling sex or drugs and stuff like that, but they have their kids at home. They
Mm-hmm.
just have like a caseworker stop by once in a while, but their kids are drinking 24 packs of Pepsi. Their 2-year-olds are, or they're just all over the place. They absolutely, there is a, there is abuse and neglect out there, but CPS is going after the wrong families.
Exactly. Right. They're chasing down false allegations. And what was it? 85% of them are false allegations, and they're going
Yeah.
after those.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And a lot of, they scare parents so much
Mm-hmm.
that it shuts them up, and
Mm-hmm.
they twist their words, and
Mm-hmm.
they're allowed to they get away with everything, like lying, twisting the
Oh,
words,
yes.
perjury, you name it, they get away
Mm-hmm.
with it. And that,
Always. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I want that to stop. I know that the ACLU is trying to, they have a petition to end qualified immunity with police officers. For everybody out there who wants to check that out and sign that petition. But I think that, yeah, as long as they can do whatever they want, as long as they think they're above the law.
Oh, they do think they are.
Oh yeah, then this is going to keep happening because
Mm-hmm.
they want that money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that is the Title 4E incentives and all these other incentives through our Social Security money, but that's another issue as well.
Yeah.
But how did you get involved into running for city council?
Well, I mean, all this stuff that has happened. I mean, there is
Mm-hmm.
so much corruption around here. And then also, I paid the taxes on my house, and Thomasville has nothing. It's small, but the taxes are outrageous.
Mm-hmm.
And the police, the crime rate, first of all, is nationally among the highest. Between the biggest cities and the smallest cities, it's the highest
Mm.
nationally, among the highest cities. And I mean, this small, and no one's probably heard of Thomasville, but I mean, it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your likelihood of being, I have to look at the exact statistics, but it's the school districts are C and D school districts or schools. There's not a single B school around here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just needs a lot. No one cares.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's so many things that we could be doing. We have a downtown, but we don't. All
Mm-hmm.
the businesses have left. And there's so much drugs. There's a lot of drugs around here, which there's a lot of property crime, and the police aren't doing anything about it. I've talked to a lot of business owners. So it was like within 1 month, someone was they robbed the Dollar General around the same time, right before sunrise, at gunpoint for the cash register money. Then right behind the Dollar General, the Walgreens for cash register money the next day, a local coffee shop for the tip jar money
Mm-hmm.
that same week. And then a couple stores down from the coffee shop, I mean, they get robbed every day or get stolen from every day. And they have professional security cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And the owners have told me they have been trying to get the police to look at their camera footage, and the police still haven't. One of the people that stole out of this business It was all in her backpack. Ran right past 2 officers. I guess they just had some sort of something downtown. The owner ran after them and asked the officers, "Did you see this person?" She described the person. The officer said, "Yeah, she ran that way," and just pointed. It stood there. They don't do anything about it. And so we have no businesses. There's just so much that can be done,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not doing it. And where's our money going? I
Mm-hmm.
know we got a brand new police department, and they got brand new police cars. There's a gated fence, so you can't see those brand new police cars.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Mm-hmm.
hidden, but they're out. They have all this high tech stuff. They all have pilot licenses. And I mean, a lot of people that have pilot licenses, you have to have one usually for a, I'm sorry, what do you call it? It flies in the air. What do you call it?
Helicopter.
No,
Uh,
a drone.
drone.
Yeah. So there's drones around here. I mean, they have, and I don't know why, but it's just corrupt.
Well,
And
they probably have the drones flying around so they can hit the donut shop.
actually, I don't even know if we have a don't. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we do some, but I see them at Sheets a lot. I've taken pictures. They don't. I see they don't. I go running downtown, and no, they don't. They're not here to serve and protect. I've even
Yeah.
asked for officers to drive by my house.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Ring doorbell app. I have cameras everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and they're supposed to, supposed to be able to drive by and make sure everything's okay. And not once did the officer drive by.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, I've been getting threatening letters. I got a threatening letter in the mail. I was at a friend's house. It happened twice, actually. I was at a friend's house, and then also when I wasn't with her, someone was inside my house, but my dog was not barking. My 75-pound black lab pit bull mix was not barking.
Hmm.
So she called the police. I'm not gonna ever call the police. I don't trust them. I mean, they do the opposite from serve and protect, but she did. And when looking back on my Ring doorbell, they just shined their flashlight in and left. But it was very, very disturbing. The noises that you could hear inside, it sounded like a bunch of glass and metal shattering, and my dog was not barking. So, and I don't know many people around here, so he knew the person. My dog knew the person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's scary. I've had 4 flat tires in 5 months, and I have new tires, and just in my driveway alone.
Now, has it started since you, I guess, put in for running for city council?
No, so the day of adjudication, my ex and his attorney, who he hired, sneaky, that's a whole different topic, but she came out and threatened me. So my ex threatened to kill me because it was a closed hearing. We weren't allowed to have phones. My ex and I it's just him and myself. I think my parents were there, but they were a good distance away. So this is the second time since October he threatened to kill me. And he doesn't make threats. He's not one to say make threats. Like he's a silent type of sneaky person. So that was scary. And then his attorney and my attorney come out. His attorney tells me that I have to sign some custody order, and if I don't, then she's going to take out an emergency custody and come take my daughter from me. My daughter's waiting for me to pick her up at this moment, and it's not even 10 minutes before the courthouse is closing, and I felt like there was a gun to my head. So I don't know what I'm signing, but I do know he signed. Well, there's a verification form that someone signed his name to or on. There's 4 of them because she attempted emergency custody 4 times. Now, I can't get too much into the custody case, but I will say this. His attorney that he got in December 2019, which is right after I went to the head of CPS and the substantiation regarding his ex's daughter came out. This is retaliation. He never was interested in any custody of our daughter or even seeing our daughter. He is retaliating purely against me, and it doesn't stop. I mean, my phone, my neighbors watching. I even rented out my room to a man who was gay. His husband passed away, Airbnb, and he was accusing me of having a boyfriend. I thought that was hilarious because that just showed how closely they're watching me. The welfare checks were just constant. And he doesn't call to check on our daughter. When I had our daughter, after she was released, constant welfare checks, and I had the audio, and he's just trash talking me. One of the first things he says is, after he gives my address, he says, "Oh, you've probably heard of it," to the dispatcher. Then he talks about just me, trashing me. Doesn't talk about our daughter at all. And they ask him questions about our daughter. He thinks that they're asking questions about me. And he says, "Oh, yeah, she's on everything, all sorts of drugs and this and that." Or she's suing CPS, police, and this and that. And then he says, so I had a restraining order on him, and it said no spying. And he said she's on the dispatch call. They asked if I was home. He said, "Yeah, she's on her front porch right now," which I was. I was cleaning the glass window. My daughter was sleeping, and I had the monitor outside. My friend, who is a retired cop, was inside my house on my computer doing some work for me, helping me out. And the police came by. But he said she's on her front porch right now. And it was just nonstop.
And that's a waste of taxpayers' dollars for him to be making these calls, having the police come out and check for nothing. And other people are doing this too. So there's such a tremendous amount of waste of taxpayer dollars with these people that just don't know when to quit.
Yeah. When we have, look at the crime, like how much crime we have, but there's so much going on that, it's right in front of you. And then also I have a restraining order, and it's obvious when you hear these recordings, he doesn't care about our daughter. He's not talking about her.
Right.
He said, we had a custody hearing, and I don't know. He's giving them information that when you actually call for a welfare check, you are calling about the concerns for the child.
Right.
You're not talking about, whatever. So she, I did not know she just attempted on the day of adjudication, which was June 18th, 2020. His attorney just attempted to get emergency custody and was denied. She failed to let me know that. If I would have known that, I would have said, "See ya," walked away, got my daughter. So it's been very, his attorney's taken this very personal. She wants to win, and she's been very unethical and professional and done a lot of illegal things. And so that's where I am right now. And I am finally getting a divorce, which I've been wanting for a while. I did file last year. They never put it on the docket. But I'm finally going to get that. And I am moving forward with all the stuff, which I can't really get into detail with it, regarding what I've been put through regarding him and his attorney, and what my daughter's been put through.
Right. Well, I know there's things you can't talk about, but how is the running for city council going?
It's good so far. It's still early.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, we can't put up signs yet. On October 8th, we have, we get to give a presentation, and there'll be TV stations there and other media there. And then we have a meet and greet afterwards. And then I think we could put out signs 60 days prior to election. So it should be coming up soon. And all my signs are in, and nice. I have all my cards in. I have a lot of my stuff in. I have a lot of support, which is good. I'm excited to talk about, my ideas. I think it's a little different from people who have lived here their entire life. I think that change could happen. It's definitely possible. I would love to see change to happen in Thomasville. I would love to see things get better. People want to come and live here, and it's to thrive, and for the citizens to thrive, and businesses to thrive, and just for Thomasville to be a place for that people enjoy. But right now, it's not at all, and there's a lot of people hurting, and I have a lot of great ideas. So I'm
Mhm.
excited.
Well, I like to have you on as a return guest in the
Oh, I
future
would love
when all
that.
this, happens and all that, and see how everything goes.
Thank you
So
so much.
we'll keep in touch. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Well, what I'll add is I'm going to put a bunch of links in the podcast for
Okay.
listeners that you had sent to me, but I'm so sorry. What were you going to add?
No, just thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I hope that there was one thing I wanted to let people know. One thing that I did do with a group of people was we went to DSS budget hearings, but we also spoke out in front of the Board of Commissioners. The county has Board of Commissioners, Board of Supervisors, and that did help. The media picked up my speech, two different newspapers, but they talked about the group of people. So there's 4 of us. So if you could just reach out locally, that
Mhm.
did help. And so they had a little CPS DSS has had a harder time getting local funding. So, if you can do anything, I mean, if you can speak out locally, that does help. And I included those links to my last minute speech on there, and another girl that came with me,
Mhm.
her speech on there, so they can see that.
Yeah, I saw those. Very
Yes.
good. Okay, well, I'll have you back on when you're ready to come back on.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I'm your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth. Please join us again in the future here with Katrina and other exciting episodes. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.